All right, we're about 9 days away from Super Bowl 60, the Patriots and the Seahawks. And when you think Super Bowl, obviously you think about the gambling that goes along with it. And I just got this week, in fact, from some friends out in Vegas, a 60-page book. This is from the Westgate Superbook, 60 pages of Super Bowl props that they are offering. And I'll, of course, obviously, I'll be betting on the Gatorade. Everybody knows I'll do that. And maybe the coin toss as well, perhaps the national anthem. Those are things I'll consider. But you think about sports betting significantly this time of year. And so, unfortunately, that means that someone is thinking about it that maybe shouldn't be thinking about it or is going to go too far with it. And so always appreciate our friends from the University of Maryland School of Medicine, Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling, coming by the studio. Michael Kafis is here, and he's brought Kenny Crawford along with him. Mike, it's good to see you, first of all.
Good to
Always
see you.
appreciate you.
Thanks for having us.
The raw data on what we're talking about and how significant this week, this moment is in the world of sports betting.
It is very significant, and I will say it is. Let me just say, we're as concerned as ever, based on our 2024 prevalence study that came out, and some information came out where we found out that the incidence of gambling has gone up 1.7%. It went from 4% to 5.7. That is we don't have to be big math nerds, but that is a rate increase of over 40%. So things are increasing, and I don't want to scare people with numbers. That's that it's just a thing that we need to be mindful of. What does that mean in real world terms, though? It means that you could fill the Raven Stadium twice with the amount of people that increased. So just to give you an idea, that's the amount of people that are developing a gambling problem, or what they call a disorder. So.
And that is obviously concerning. Now, we need to define that, right? Because this is what I've always appreciated about our relationship, is that you guys don't come here to say no one's allowed to bet, never bet, anything along those lines.
No, we do
and
not.
And it's always a little bit trickier than that. And Kenny's certainly going to be able to speak to this. But how do you define for you when this goes from, hey, it's fine, what you're doing is it's healthy, it's fun, you're participating, to when it becomes problem gambling?
Well, and Kenny and I were just talking about this on the way here, and we were talking about how drinking alcohol is legal. But there are people, Kenny has admitted to us before that, he can't drink. He chooses not to drink because it's problematic for him. I choose to drink, and I'm okay with that. It's the exact same thing with gambling. Either, you can gamble and be safe and use do low risk gambling, and some people, unfortunately, though, cross an invisible line, which I want Kenny to talk about a little bit more. And once they do, then it becomes problematic and could be disordered gambling.
Kenny Crawford is a peer specialist with the center, and Kenny, your background, and I've talked about this a lot. One of the things that I appreciate about it, people that when you do call 1-800-GAMBLER or text 1-800-GAMBLER, you're going to have the ability to talk to someone who's been in your shoes. Can you share with everyone your background, how you ended up in this place, that this is what you're doing?
So I'm a person in recovery for drugs and alcohol. I didn't get into gambling until later in life. Basically, I traded one addiction for another, and I've always they didn't have the access to gambling. We didn't have that back 20, 30, 40 years ago.
You had to know somebody who knew somebody.
Yeah.
Find a bookie
That
somewhere.
bookie.
Yeah,
Or
right.
take a long trip.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And I've taken them long trips, and I liked it. I liked gambling. It's just I didn't have the access. Nowadays, the access it's everywhere, pretty much. And
you have a phone, you can make bets. It's that simple.
Yeah, and so I was a poker player. I started back in the 2004, the Chris Moneymaker era.
It was the heyday. The
The
World
heyday.
Series of Poker was on TV every week on ESPN. It was massive.
Yeah.
Phil Ivey, that
Oh,
whole
yes.
run, man.
Oh yes,
And that's before when we had, now the equivalent to that is, and would that still exist? But the equivalent is seeing all these people making all this money online.
Oh, yeah,
gambling,
right? Everybody's
And
getting rich doing
we
it,
wanna
right?
make sure that
Yeah.
people understand.
Really
that
weird how that works,
is-
right?
Very weird. Is
Yeah.
questionable even.
Really weird how that works.
yeah. When you see it on ESPN, my dream was to be a professional player, and I chased that dream, chased that money, chased the losses for years and years, and then when the casinos came into town, that was a different story. I didn't know that I had an addiction to gambling, so when I started playing slots, that was Katie barred the door for me.
So when to you, as someone who's been there, you've experienced it, how do you define when it goes from you're gambling to problem gambling?
When it's not fun anymore, when you're chasing your losses, when you're literally banging your head against the walls, like, what am I doing?
It's
And
impacting
then-
your life.
Yeah, every aspect of your life, and where you're hiding, your problems away from your family. You're lying, stuff like that.
And nobody ever says, whether it's like, hey, Glenn, you want to go to the movies? Let's go to the movies. We go to the movies. We spend 20, 40, 50 bucks, whatever.
We're not going to
And-
be at the movie theater
right.
for another 6 hours.
And,
Yeah, right,
and
yeah.
we also don't ever have to take a loan out or get another credit card or a line of credit so that we can keep going to the movies.
Mike, I
And-
hear you. It's just funny. I like what you're saying is 100% true. I feel like I worry that that is obviously when you're there. You my
Right.
God, you're
Right.
I feel like there are people that I think I've told the story before. In the infancy that I got involved really with betting before it was legal, but there were the offshore books. To me it was mostly fun, right? But it struck me at one point that I was obsessed. That I just needed. Is there a sporting event going on right now that I could be trying to make some money on? And what the moment for me, and I poked fun of it, was I was betting on Ukrainian ping pong during the pandemic. And I said, oh, my God. And it wasn't even that I was losing significant money. It wasn't impacting my life in any way. It was just, what am I? This isn't healthy. It's not healthy for me to be going to my phone obsessively to try to figure out if there's some Euro basketball game happening somewhere that I could put a bet in on. And I wasn't taking out loans or losing a house but it was enough for me to say this is a problem. It might not be an addiction, but it's a problem and I need to deal with it. And I'm sure I feel like that's the line that I'm looking for is when is it maybe you're not fully there, but if you bring up chasing to me is always you lose a bet, you're going to lose a bet. If you immediately have to go I've got to get that back, that's got to be the biggest example of this is a behavior that's going to lead Kenny to bigger problems for you. Correct?
Yeah. When the worst thing that can happen to somebody with potential gambling problems, and it's what happened to me, is hitting it big right off from the get-go. And what I find when I'm working with health seekers, some of the most pain that I see is people that won really big from the get-go and lose it all.
Lose it all, right.
And it's not even their money. They won that money. It's not their money, but it hurt them so bad.
Well, you start doing the math. I had this. I said that I could have paid for an all expenses vacation for my entire family with money that I won, but then I just sort of said, no, I'm going to bet on Ukrainian ping pong instead. Again, I didn't lose much money. I lost a couple $100,
Right.
but I could have had, and that really struck me. I could have
down
had
payment,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
This could have been something significant for my family. I could have paid for a family vacation, but I just sort of said no ping pong.
And there's something striking, and I want Kenny, you and I were talking about this on the way here, and I want you to tell everyone what you told me about the house.
Oh, so, when you're playing against a house, just remember they're always going to have a bigger house than yours.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
That's always the case. Can I ask? And I don't know if you guys have data on this yet, but I know this is the things are shifting, and now a lot of talk is about the prediction markets and betting that way, which again is not necessarily betting against the house, is what people point out, but it's still betting, and I would assume the dangers are still very real. Even if you're not, again, in this unique instance, betting against the house.
And I know in Maryland, prediction markets, I believe prediction market betting is not legal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in saying that, I know there are plenty of people yelling at their screens right now going, yeah, I could still do it.
Correct.
And yes, you can. There's with the technology we have now with,
Yes,
using
it looks like I'm in
VPNs
Albany, New York
exactly.
right now, right?
So it can be done. I would just be very careful because one of the things that Maryland really does try and point out is we do regulate the betting, and they regulate what the percentages can and cannot go above. And some outside prediction market cannot do that. And offshore betting cannot do that.
Michael Kafis and Kenny Crawford in studio with us today. Kenny, what is the big, if someone, both, they might be, someone they know might be, what is the biggest advice that you can give to someone who isn't there yet, isn't ready to say, I have a, but doesn't know? It's like, maybe I do have a problem, or maybe my spouse has a problem, or my buddy has a problem. What is the biggest piece of advice that you can give to someone who's sort of on the fence in this moment?
I would try to get them to be aware of what they're doing, is it causing any family problems? Or is it causing you to lie to your family? Like, lying's a big thing, like covering stuff up, what you lost and stuff. I find that's a big sign. And to realize if you're doing that, then maybe you have a problem.
Now, I would like to just point out real quickly that if you or your loved one, if you're, you may be thinking your child or your husband or girlfriend or boyfriend has a gambling problem, but you're not quite sure, go to helpmygamblingproblem.org, and there's an assessment you can take. If you take it for someone else, that's fine. And it'll just give you a little bit of an idea of is there a problem or not. And honestly, if you are a loved one, you are welcome to call 1-800-GAMBLER. This is not a number for people to call that only have a help, that only need help. Yep. This is for people who we will help the family members as well. If they call, even if you are in college and you're just a little concerned that your boyfriend may be getting out of hand, you can still call 1-800-GAMBLER, talk to someone like Kenny, and he will just give you some advice. That's it. We're not there's nothing that we don't record we don't have to record your name or any of your, vital information. All we're looking for is to help people.
And you can text as well, 1-800-GAMBLER,
Yes,
and start the process. And I feel like it's also important that we say, and it's not just for people that, again, know their problem. You can call and get advice about how, if you are someone who is interested in sports betting, I just want to know, hey, what's things I can do as I get into this? How do I do it safely? How can I talk to somebody about that?
Right.
It doesn't necessarily have to be for someone who's just looking to quit. It can just be for someone who's looking for advice on what can I do to help myself to monitor as these things go along.
And we came here with a whole list of things, and we don't have to talk about them per se, and we did mention them, but I would encourage people to go to responsibleplay.org.
Okay.
It was a partnership between the National Council on Problem Gambling and the NFL, and it is a very good page that just talks about some of the things that you can do to play responsibly. And this is very timely, obviously, and so I really do encourage people to go and check that out.
Well,
it's really good advice.
And I know because it's been a big topic recently. I do want to, before we wrap up, I want to talk about the impact on young people right now, because I know that has become a serious hot-button topic that I think is actually going to come up a little bit as we move towards elections in coming years. But how dangerous, if I'm the parent of a 17, 18-year-old kid right now, how nervous should I be? How involved should I be? How prevalent is the problem at the moment, particularly for young men in particular, obviously?
I want to throw this to Kenny. But before I do, I want to say, depending upon you having a 17-year-old, are you allowing your 17-year-old to gamble? Are you setting up something in an app and allowing them and trying to control their betting? Because by doing that, you are causing them a much higher risk to become a problem gambler later in life. But that said, Kenny, talk to me.
So when I started at the center, I would hardly get any younger gamblers. And right now, since the legalization of sports gambling, I am seeing an upgrade, like 95% of all the calls that come in, it seems like they're sports gamblers. And I work the Eastern Shore region, and so, there's not a lot of activity for kids to do out there, so it's easy for them to just, fall in to gambling out there. And as far as like what we're seeing through or what we're hearing through younger people with, say they are under the age and they're in college, or there's always somebody in a dorm room that are of age.
Right.
And what they tell me is they pay that. They're like the bookies now. They pay them and they get into sports gambling. They get in trouble with it.
The buy my beer guy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly what we're talking about.
And we're getting a lot of parents that call. And so we work with Parents Place. We usually refer them to them or Gam-Anon, which is a good resource for parents that's been there that can help them out. And because a lot of parents are they don't want to see their kids being in debt at that young age, and what they do is bail them out.
Yep.
And that's
Correct.
probably the worst thing you can do.
It causes family problems on top of everything else and can lead to divorces. And,
Yes.
yeah, all of that. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
All right, helpmygamblingproblem.org, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, and then responsibleplay.org.
Yes. That is some really good responsible, learning some of the techniques you can do. And things like making a plan, setting time limits, things like that. And there's a lot of good advice on that site.
Really encourage everybody to check it out. And Kenny, first of all, God bless you for getting your life turned around and continuing on the path and now helping others to do the exact same thing. God bless you for that. Appreciate that you are dedicating yourself to that. I think it's awesome.
Glenn, I got to know who were you liking in the Super Bowl? You probably already talked about this, obviously.
It's boring because I just think I'm going to end up riding with the Seahawks because they're just the better team. So, yeah, I like the over on the national anthem. No, it's boring. I think everybody's kind of on the side of the Seahawks. And it's actually making me wonder if I got to start spending the fact that everybody's on the Seahawks, I'm like, maybe I need to look at the Patriots.
Unless it's the Cinderella Vrabel story, but,
or the fact that Sam Darnold could end up throwing 3 interceptions in any game that he plays. Like, you just never know when that's going to be the
Which is why
day.
I wouldn't gamble on that.
That's part of the reason why every time you think you know something, you end up finding out. Again, the house has a bigger house than you. There's a reason for that. Mike, great to see you, brother.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you as always, Kenny. Great to meet you, man. We'll come back in, and we'll get a tidbit and tubular as we continue along on Glenn Clark Radio.